allow yourself to speak your emotional truth without having to worry about how it's affecting the other person.
Well, that's a really interesting point because I think my own assessment of that is to, if you need to speak your truth, and maybe in the delivery of it is going to be stinging or have the other person feel like they're being attacked or scolded or
Yeah.
for me, if I have a volatile emotion I need to express and I'm in a space where I'm not quite sure how available are these people or this person for maybe a little bit intense, like you're talking about the Cobra Zap.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, dear listeners. Welcome, dear Deb.
Welcome.
Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset podcast conversations, our inspiring conversations. This is going to be a very inspiring conversation, I believe. We're going to be talking about, are your emotions holding you back? Oh, yes. And the music plays.
And it
But
sounds like that music too. That's the only music that would relate to it.
holding you back.
Yeah.
Before we get into our conversation and sharing our tips on how to avoid that tendency to hold you back, we're going to do what we like to call our PEMS check-in, checking in on all four pillars of your well-being. And PEMS refers to your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual pillars, your well-being on those levels. And so what we like to do before we start a conversation is to just give ourselves a number on a scale of 0 to 10. At 0, everything's feeling awesome, zen, peaceful, poised, calm, present. And 10 is the other end of the spectrum, chaotic, discombobulated, crazy making, OMG, oh no. And definitely your emotions are holding you back when you're at 10.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we move up and down that scale throughout our days. It's just such an important piece to have an awareness and a tool. This is a tool to assess that. It's not right or wrong, good or bad, but when we kind of go, oh, okay, I'm at a 6, for instance, then you can navigate and make choices and do self-soothing perhaps if that was required. So what we encourage you to do is to make a note. We're all going to make a note of where we're at right now. And then listeners, we encourage you to take a wee check-in at our halfway point, and then we'll all check in at the end. Of course, our intention with these conversations is always intended to meet you wherever you are and gently, kindly, lovingly, softly bring you towards that 0. So, all that being said, dear Deb, where are you?
2.
Of course you are, because so am I. Isn't that funny?
Surprise! Which tends to happen often.
It does tend to happen. I think actually it's funny because I think that's got something to do with the fact that we always talk for a fair bit before we hit record. So conceivably we've dealt with whatever, stresses or anxieties may be
Emotions.
coming up. Yep, emotions. And then of course we kind of get in tuned with each other's energy also. So there we have it. It's as simple as that. Just giving yourself a number, make a wee note of it, And we're going to get cracking on into this conversation. Are your emotions holding you back? Are your emotions holding you back, Deb?
Sometimes, sometimes I bottle them up, and they say I'm like a cobra. I just sit quietly and sit quietly, then just suddenly up I rise and I bite, and then I sit back down, and then I go, oops, too late,
Oops.
it's out. So yes, my emotions sometimes hold me back, and sometimes they just bite.
Okay.
But I think I love this. I absolutely love this topic. Are your emotions holding you back? And I think one of the things is when I think about when I bite, I think about other people afterwards, not often at the time, sometimes because it is a bite. But when we're looking at our emotions holding us back, it's what's the cause and effect that is going to happen with us around us when our emotions, we subdue them or we let them out.
Mm-hmm.
But also actually taking ownership of our emotions when they do, I was going to use the word explode, about not having to worry about what others think.
And that's an important piece because that's comparing yourself.
That's
to.
a whole podcast on its own,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
Because how do you allow yourself to speak your emotional truth without having to worry about how it's affecting the other person?
Well, that's a really interesting point because I think my own assessment of that is if you need to speak your truth, and maybe in the delivery of it is going to be stinging or have the other person feel like they're being attacked or scolded or
Yeah.
for me, if I have a volatile emotion that I need to express and I'm in a space where I'm not quite sure how available are these people or this person for maybe a little bit intense, like you're talking about the Cobra zap.
Let's go the extreme. Yeah.
I'm not going to do it in that place. I'm going to notice it, to honor it, and to allow myself to create space and time separate. Like maybe I need to call my mentor and say, I need to have a tantrum, or I need to write it out, or I need to, because the thing is that I think it's really important to always be coming from a space of loving acceptance. So is that I'm never going to vent or upset somebody because I've considered how are these words or this expression, how is it going to impact that other person? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It does. I would like to think I could do that. But sometimes in spaces I don't choose my words cautiously or carefully or think about the other person. It just comes out.
Okay.
And I literally think about I was involved in a car accident a couple of years ago actually, which I just got the summons to court over.
Okay.
Funny, just yesterday, and I went, "What is this Ministry of Justice big pack I've got? Whoa, what am I in trouble with?" But it was when somebody had sideswiped my car, so I approached this person at the other set of lights, and I was shaking because I
Right.
was like, "Oh my gosh, this is." I also, had to swerve on the other side of the road. There was no cars coming, but I had to get back before I hit the middle pillar
Yes.
because that would have damaged a lot. So I
I
was
remember
definitely.
I remember you going through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was really broken inside of my mind,
Mm-hmm.
shaking, and I wound the window down and I said, "Are you okay?" to the guy, and he just went off his nut at me and kill me. Like he went just crazy. He held up a screwdriver, and I was in the car and I was like, "What the heck? This is insane." And then because of his emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if he generally, if because his just came like that,
Right.
and then because of his emotion, I then reacted and I got like I got a little bit angry. I actually didn't voice anything to him. I wound my window up. I jumped into complete emotional fear So for me, usually I would be okay with confrontation because confrontation to me is just a conversation. But when he pulled the screwdriver up and did all that, I just then went into freeze. So
Right.
my emotions definitely held me back and I had to protect myself. But there was a lot afterwards that I was like, I should have said that. I could have done that. And that happened. But it was only when I rang the police and they actually said, they got his registration. They said, you need to stop following right now. We're onto it. Like, I was like, okay, which to me indicated they knew him. And
Okay.
the way the guy's like, you need to stop right now. Stop, pull over, lock your car, call somebody,
Right.
and I was like, ooh, I can hear you. I was ready to hear what was going to be said. But my emotions definitely held me back because of his reaction. But also, I think he got a fright too. He had a trailer on. So I think he got a fright by hitting me and not realizing. So his reaction. So what I'm trying to say is, I would like to think I hold it in and I just work through it myself. But there are definitely times that I'm about ready to explode. My first instinct is he okay? And then I was going to give him what ho.
Right.
But I said, are you okay? He gave me what ho, and I went, oh, beep, beep, beep. I'm out of this whole conversation.
Reversing out of it. But you see that, and that's actually a very valuable point, because I was having a conversation with a client just this past week where he was really, really upset because what happened was he was on his bike and he scooted through, he saw a gap and slipped through, but basically he must have terrified the truck driver who didn't see him until it was like seconds after he could have conceivably hit him. And so this truck driver followed the guy who's my client and then gave him what for, like screaming and
that would have been hideous to be part of that as well.
I know. And so what I was trying to say was that guy was so freaked out because he obviously
out.
was that
Both parties would be freaked out. The cyclist and
yes,
motorcycle or push bike.
push bike.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah. Yeah. But he was saying, like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong? He's this crazy truck driver. And I said, but you put yourself in jeopardy and him, like the truck. He was so and I think it's not to the same degree, but that's how that truck driver you're talking about. Sometimes the emotion that comes up and really what's underneath is total freak out, total fear of like, oh my God, do you know what could have just happened? And that comes out in this big tirade, like, you idiot, and blah, 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 blah. And so you see, this is the thing though, about are your emotions holding you back? Are you willing to tell the truth about what your emotions are? Because in both of these scenarios that we're talking about, the emotion was complete fear. It was fear of their lives, right?
Well, I mean, for me, I just went, are you okay? Because I was like, gosh, are you okay? That was my first instinct. Not even thinking about the car or anything like that. Also not thinking that I could have hit the pillar. Like my brain went, are you okay first? And then after that was like, whoa, I don't care if you're okay.
But I'm talking from their perspective of what they're not really accessing. They were freaked out. I know what I get what you're talking about your emotions.
Truck driver as well.
Yeah,
because
yeah. And so, but that's why I'm saying is that when we allow ourselves to feel the fright or the, oh my God, you know, my life was in jeopardy right there. But when we don't allow that and then we get into our thinking mind, I think that's what's the problem. Our thinking mind can start saying, how dare you? And right, get into the victim story.
As soon as he did his reaction back to me, I went into, I'm not safe. I'm going to show you. Police. I hadn't even thought about the damage. I knew my car was damaged because it was definitely like it hurt. I could feel it hurt the car. I don't know if that's my car's got feelings, but I could definitely feel it damaged it. But it was when we both reacted differently, and then the next level of my right kicked in.
Indignation.
Yeah. And I think about that. I think about your person, like that would have been hideous for both parties.
Yes.
Horrific. And I
Yeah.
guess the truck driver's probably seen way more than your cyclist of what actually happens.
Yes.
So he's got that stored, or he or she's got that stored in his brain or their brain already. And I know what actually happens from this.
Yeah.
You know, you're pretty lucky.
Yeah, precisely. But so the thing is, I think that, are your emotions holding you back? They can, if we allow ourselves to get too embroiled in the story about them. Because sometimes, you know, those lower, I talk a lot often about an emotional scale. So the lower scale emotions are things like hopelessness and helplessness and fear and those types.
Yeah.
Sometimes we run away from them because they're the sticky ones to process through. And so then when we deny them, they stick around and they potentially hold us back. Right? So
Well,
if you stuff anger down, it's
I know.
That was an interesting response.
No, I was just thinking, I know when I stuff my anger down, it comes out 10 times, like
Yes.
100 times, and it comes out at the most inappropriate places with the people who have no association to what's going on, and it bubbles underneath, and then boom, out comes the tornado. No, it's not a tornado.
And so for you, you're aware that it explodes and comes out, but I know people that it doesn't, and they'll stuff it down and stuff it down, and then they have chronic ailments or chronic pain or chronic issues. And the key is that had they allowed their emotions to flow and tell their emotions or get the support or the outlet of them, then they would be in flow and on track. Do you know what I mean?
I do try, you know, for me, I put a time frame on my emotions. I know, you know, I just go, okay, you're going to, just like we were talking earlier, I said, oh, when I hit a certain town, that's it, no more tears, it's done.
Yes, yeah.
I put that time frame on, and it's usually, I try and get it done within 24 hours. And I say to people, say to my partner, just let me be. You know, she'll often say, can I do it? No, I don't. Can I do anything for you? Or you want me to make you a cut? Like, she doesn't get to that. Can I do? No, like, just let me be.
Yeah.
And for me, it works just to work on my own processes. She has her own processes, but for me, I know what I teach, and so I will go back to what I teach others to, because I know it works. So I'll go back to that, but I will put a time frame. If your emotions are holding back, I encourage people to put a time frame on and go, okay, let's just ensure that you trust that this is going to work out, do whatever you've got to do, and it's going to be done in 24 hours so that you can carry on functioning.
Right.
Or so that you can go and face that person or whatever that is. But you must respect that time frame.
Right.
In my mind.
And I just wanted to circle back to that trust. Trust is a tip that we've often referenced in our conversations. But you're right that this is emotions provide us with guidance. And sometimes if we jump from the emotion into the got to work this out and got to tell somebody
Solution,
what's going on, or the solution, it doesn't allow us to just kind of come through it. So I like what you just said is I trust. So if I just need to sit here and cry my eyes out, okay, I'm just going to sit here and cry my eyes out. And not get into, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And how come this is happening? And how long am I going to be in this? Because you can allow that emotional guidance, that emotional wisdom to be felt because it's impermanent. No emotion is permanent. However, if we stuff them down and pretend we're not feeling them, then they explode, as in Deb's example, they'll explode. But the other part too is that this is just a level of dishonoring you. Because you see, when we allow ourselves to feel the emotion and get the intelligence from it, it will leave. Like I said, it's impermanent. However, if we get stuck with it or stuff it down or get too much into the thinking. Because it is said, for every emotion, we can have like hundreds and hundreds of thoughts as to how come we're feeling that.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. And then the stories change every time you think of it again.
yes. So the shortcut through that is to just sit with reverence and have the experience. And it would be very helpful if you put your hand on your heart, focus on your breathing. This is me. This is how I encourage people to do it. This is me walking my talk also, is if I'm going through some form of discombobulation. Oh, that's the first time I brought that word into this
It's
conversation.
taking a while.
I know. But it's to just feel into that and put your hand on your heart and breathe through it. And then the sun comes out, it lightens up. But it's when we get into that crazy making thinking, it's going to have us going down too many rabbit holes. It's going to also do things like comparing ourselves to others or beating ourselves up or telling ourselves off or getting into the shoulds. All layers that are going to create even more stickiness around this idea, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking, when you were just talking, we talked about trust, is don't fear it. Because we know when you run from things, it escalates.
Yes.
But acknowledging it is vital. And when you said it before, are you willing to tell the truth about your emotions?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that going and feeling it, because we do our PEMS at the start of every call.
Mm-hmm.
Even just acknowledging that your PEMS is a number.
Yeah.
Your PEMS is, if you're a 0, that's perfect. But even if you're a 5, that's still perfect. And even if you're a 10, that's still perfect, because your PEMS is a number that allows you to recalibrate in whatever it is. And so these feelings or these emotions are just allowing you to recalibrate again. So it's just a word, emotions or feelings or feelings, emotions, but it's just a label. That's all it is. And then you can pick and choose what it is. But I when we talked about the trust, I kept going, don't fear it.
Yeah.
And that is that trust. Even though you will have old stories, like for me, when I was actually funny, I was telling you about the guy in the car, when I had a bigger car accident. Interesting.
Oh, there's a vibe here.
Yeah. Once a year. Remember when I had that other car accident? I had a real big one where I had 2 cars ram me from behind.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I chose to sit in the car.
Yes.
And I actually chose to sit on the motorway and just went,
With your hand on your heart.
Yeah, hand on my heart. I'm just going to be thankful for what I've got, and I'm going to breathe through this. And for me, I didn't even, which my normal thing I would have thought is get out and see if everyone's okay. Get out and see if everyone's okay. But I could see them arguing behind. They were taking photos. They were yelling at each other. And I was like, they're all alive. My head went, they're all alive. I'm not getting out. I'm just staying here, because it was for me. But interesting, because the other guy who took a different stance, as I asked him if he was okay.
Right.
And so it was my natural thing to go, are you okay?
Yes.
And then I was going to rip a whatever into him, perhaps. But even then, but when the next, so be aware of your other stories. I didn't consciously piece these two together, because one I jumped out to say, are you okay? Well, actually not. I wound the window down. Are you okay? And this next crash I had was none of that. I literally just went, I'm not doing that. I don't need to check if anyone's okay. I can see they're all okay. I'm just going to see, and I'm going to trust myself that I'm okay during this time. Right. So be aware of your past stories, beliefs, attachments that have gone on, and they will actually unlock another level of what's really going on for you.
But so what I was thinking when you were saying that, though, is to accept what's going on right now. Like, you can be having an awareness of past stories, but really stay present. What's really happening here? Not what happened the last time you had a car accident. What's happening here?
A week down the track, or in my case, a year and a half down the track, I'm now piecing that together. I hadn't pieced that together until right now on this call.
Isn't that interesting?
It might take a while for people to together, it might not. But yeah, I trusted that I was in the safer space and I didn't
Hmm.
need to help anyone and just breathe through what's going on right now.
What you were feeling at that point.
So much so that I had 2 ambulance officers and a policeman escort me to the ambulance because they went, "You're in shock.
Mm.
You cannot be this calm when the other cars have all been written off and you're just sitting here going, no, actually I feel okay." And they were like, "No, she must be on drugs. There's something wrong with her." Shock. One of the guys who was dealing in the ambulance, he actually stopped dealing with the person who had the broken ribs and the dislocated shoulder to come and check on me.
Mm.
Because he said, "You're not normal." I was like, "Yeah, tell me something my parents haven't told me for years." Like, so, but also other people's reactions as well was really interesting for me to see from a stressologist point of view, to go, wow, this is what happens when you're really in the present moment.
Yeah.
And
And that's the whole point, is that you can stay present. That's a wee bit like the staying in the center of the eye of the storm,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get out of the bloody car. I could see they were arguing. I'm like, I don't need my two
I don't
cents.
need to, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I need to just stay here and
I'm just
focus
gonna
on my breath.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, it is staying present. But I hadn't even thought about that. Oh, you know what I'm doing today? Driving 2
Yes.
hours.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. To make sure there's no emotions holding you back in there.
I'll just drive with some great music and listening and floating on the roads. Yeah.
But actually, that's a really good point too about music, because music is
Mm,
such a powerful way to change your state. So if you're
yeah.
feeling in a wee bit of a funk, maybe you do need to put something a little bit more uplifting that can soothe you. I'm a big believer in soothing your nervous system. This is a topic that comes up a lot in my work, is that if your emotions are holding you back, perhaps it's time to help you ease from sympathetic into parasympathetic. So
Yeah.
the sympathetic is the fight or flight, or the, oh my God, there's terrible things happening, and into parasympathetic, where you're much closer to the zero on our scale.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program, both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
But sometimes that's just as simple as putting your hand on your heart and taking a few deep breaths in through your nose and sighing it out, to kind of really allow yourself to stay centered, stay grounded, stay in this moment. Because sometimes shock responses can come about because as soon as you've had something, like you're talking about 2 different vehicle accidents, we can get taken right out of the present moment, as
Mm,
as the sort of dust settles and you kind of go, okay, here I am. I'm sitting here. I've got all my faculties. I've got my body is all in good order, and then your head can kick in and go, oh my God, but this could have happened, and this could have happened, and this could have happened, and that in itself can create a shock response. And so that's why I'm saying it's so important, so important, to come back into soothing your nervous system. Soothing your nervous system is really easy to do when you do something tactile. So you can put your hands together in prayer position. You could put your hand on your heart. You could cradle your face. You could give yourself a hug.
mm,
But it's doing the tactile pieces that it's allowing your consciousness to be held here, and it's comforting. Right, our limbic system responds to our physical touch. So it's nice if somebody comes along and puts their hand on your shoulder and says, "Hey, are you okay?" But you can do it for yourself. And so that's why I really want to underline that part about your emotions holding you back. If you're feeling, nerves jangling, then what do you need? I call it self-soothing. I often encourage people to put together what I call a self-soothing kit. And it can be a list of techniques like the hand on heart, or the slow breathing, or specific types of music are really good for slowing things down.
So funny, because I haven't been challenged really good for a while. But last week I went from 0 to 1,000,000.
Oh,
I went beyond that 10. I was livid. I was furious. And I came straight to my office and shut the door, because I was like, I don't want anyone else to get this while we work on this. And I put on some really loud music. And I won't tell you the song that I played, because it had explicit lyrics and I had it so loud, and I just sung it to the max. And then I went, okay, done. Let's just deal with this. And it was literally just changed my whole state from angry to listen to these lyrics. Yeah, yeah, yeah. As if I was, and it literally, and I know Tony Robbins talks about changing your state. He jumped up and
punches the air.
And says something, and I remember those. I remember that
for
one.
me to change your state, I'll stand and put my hands on my hip and say, I'm the boss. I'm the boss.
Boss of me, yeah.
I'm the boss of me.
Well, I did listen to this music, but then funnily enough, yesterday it came on my playlist and I went, oh God, listen to the lyrics. And I cringed and skipped it. And it was very funny, because I used to like this. And yesterday I was like, oh, and then it just brought me back to that whole thing. But
isn't that funny? So that's how different music for different states.
Yeah, definitely. I have a little playlist, so I'm going to get that ready for my road trip today. But I do like to sing.
Yeah, me too.
I will admit I'm not the best singer, but I'm a singer in my own mind. But even that allows me to release whatever's going on.
Yeah.
And so I'll just sing and it'll just come out. But I also want to just say, I know we sort of summed up a few things, but other people's emotions are not yours to deal with.
No.
And I think that's are your emotions holding you back? When people share stuff with you, it's not yours to deal with. And even though Moira and I are exceptional coaches, we still hold space for you, but we don't take on your emotion. We hear your emotion, we feel your emotion, but we don't get attached to your emotion, because we go into solution-based thinking, how to move that away from you, appreciate it to move it away from you. So just be aware of other people's emotions. Like I know Moira said at the start, if something's going on, she'll reach out to a mentor. Yeah. That's fantastic. And because if she reached out to her husband, he's got his own stuff. Or if she reached out to a friend, they've got their own stuff. So just be aware that other people's emotions are not yours to deal with.
Yes, and so that's it. It's knowing. It's having awareness of where are your go-to places to ask for support, to ask, because and the other thing I think is very important too is to ensure that person that you're going to is available for that.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, totally. Quick, right? I got to tell you something, and they're like, yeah, I've got 30 seconds, and you're like, oh no, it's going to take way longer. No, you can't even hold my space for me anymore. Yeah, okay. I can see that stuff.
Okay. But what I meant was that, and to your point, like I might want to ask my husband if he's available to let me sound off about something that's upsetting me. But I also have to be willing for him to say, no, I don't have the bandwidth. I'm too tired. Or because like you said, he's got his own stuff going on. Right.
And you can't be offended if you say to a friend, can I just get on the phone and bleat or something? And they're like, no, I can't. Well, you're not even a very good friend. I needed you at that one time, and then then there's
some of the things that come out of your mouth. I think, oh my God, really?
Did you not get clients like that come to you like that? But for me, for me, that's their emotion, that's their own story
Mm.
that they're holding on to.
Mhm.
Again,
Mhm.
I'm definitely a firm. I want to go back to what we said near the start, because are your emotions holding you back? Moira said, write it out or speak it out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that tip was really heard, because writing it out and speaking it out makes so much sense. Write it out and then say it aloud
Mhm.
and hear it, and then go, oh, yeah, okay, this needs to be worked on, or, oh, that's interesting, that came up, or something. So
Or
it goes
even
back to,
just in doing that, you kind of go, oh, okay, that's it. It's done. I'm
yeah,
good.
oh, done. Yeah, exactly. Tick it off, whatever it is. But writing it and speaking it out to yourself or to somebody is valid.
Yeah.
The thing I was just going to say was about that is sometimes I have a friend who used to start ranting and raving about whatever was going on in her world,
Mm.
and I would go into solution base. I would go, well, what about doing that? And if you do that, instead of actually just holding energy and space and just going, all right, you just want me to listen, I'll listen, which
Mm.
sometimes is very hard for me. Instead of going into solution base, I'll be very honest, but sometimes that's what needed, and just hold that energy and space, because once they've spoken it aloud, they're left with, oh, okay, yep, done, thanks very much.
Right.
But then you have to zip yourself up and go, well, phew, that didn't affect me, and we're moving on. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I'm having a little giggle about that though, because I had a conversation with a client just last week that he was telling me this big scenario and said, so what's the solution? And I said to him, I'm not going to give you the solution. He was quite like taken aback, because Moira's
Solution,
superpower.
yeah.
I go into solution mode right away, like you're saying. And I said, no, I'm not going to. And he's like, why? You always come up with great solutions. And I says, you're going to shoot holes in everything I say.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the point, right? Somebody who's really, really stuck to their story, and that's really what was going on for him, was he was really, and I just thought, every solution that I say, you're going to say, no, it won't work because of this. And, oh, that doesn't work and that doesn't apply. And that's, so
Well,
but
that's
you
that
know
Tony
what
Robbins,
was the
are they
cool
a worthy
thing?
opponent?
Yeah, that's true. But what was
Yeah.
really cool is that I didn't make it easy on him, and he actually did come up with his solution. Because I held space and I didn't kind of just go, oh, all you have to do is this.
Yeah.
Because and his actual ultimate solution was similar to something that I might have suggested, but I was just going around it and making him realize that it needs to come from our own inner wisdom in
Yeah.
order for it to stick, and in order for us to realize we can still feel our emotions and come through and not feel stuck. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's that old saying when coaches come to me and they're like, what do you think I should do? And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
would you tell yourself if you're a client? No, don't give me that. Just tell me what to do. I'm like, get back to your own work, I think. But I know Tony Robbins does that. Are you a worthy opponent? And, keyboard warriors, and I say keyboard warriors, like, really? Why are you wasting your time and energy? What's the purpose? What's the outcome you actually want here? So I think also be aware of what is the outcome we're
Mhm.
looking for.
Yeah.
Are your emotions holding you back? What outcome do you actually want? Because your outcome may be completely unrealistic to the world,
True. Yeah.
to society. So what is that outcome you're wanting to do?
Absolutely. And it's so interesting. You and I there seems to be common threads that come up in our conversations. And there are things like trust and acknowledge and awareness and acceptance. But this worthy opponent piece is one that comes in a fair bit too, is to actually just really check in. That actually makes me think of the question I've often said, is that how do I feel about myself here?
Mm.
Right? How do I feel about myself if I'm going to have this conversation with this person? Is this person worthy of me coming up with a solution, or do I just need to hold space and invite them to step into solution mode themselves? Right?
I'm on a couple of scammer Facebook pages in New Zealand, and And it's interesting, they're just like, and I got to play a scammer and I got to do this and I got to scam the scammers. And I'm just like, oh my God. And they said, and it only took 4 days to get them to pay me. And I'm like, why
Oh,
would you even spend 4 days investing in that? My head goes, that's 4 days. There's a lot of energy and time and space. But then they share it on the page and, they get the, well done, good on you. And I'm just thinking, what was your outcome? Like, what did you actually want? You wanted to prove a point. You're one little fly in a festering full of scammers, and like, to them it's nothing,
that's
and
amazing. It's certainly
oh
not a space I would be in.
no, well, I have a couple of times actually snoozed the page because some of the stuff, but when we have local, because we're in a smaller-ish area, I definitely want to see what's going on in my hood. I know we're running out of time, which actually scares me because we haven't even kicked off, I feel like. I'm like, what?
Like,
But
what
one of
are
the
our points?
I know. So before we wrap up, before we wrap up and say grab a note-taking device.
Oh, I never even said that. My goodness. Are your emotions holding you back? Well, you need to get your note-taking device now.
We got super excited about sharing. One of the tips I'm going to share now before we wrap up is gratitude.
Mm.
And when I say gratitude, be grateful for this emotion because it's showing you that there's something unresolved in your heart.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Just gratitude for this, whatever situation it was wrapped up in and thrown at you like an atomic bomb or given to you, handed to you, or whatever it is. Be grateful for this emotion because there is something in there that's a little bit unresolved with what's going on. So we're thankful for that because here it is right now for you to deal with.
Yeah. And there's always the gift. It may not present itself right in that moment, but there's a gift there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now, people, grab your note-taking device, and because we're going to sum up our podcast in tips. Didn't write much.
Well,
Just
I've got a few here, and because I kind of synthesized some of them from our conversation. I'll
kick it off.
I'll kick us off with the first one I had written down was to allow ourselves to speak our truth, to speak the emotion. And that was when I was talking about being aware of the company that you're in. Like if you need to say I'm feeling this, but you're in an environment that is not going to be conducive to airing that emotion, then make a note to yourself, I need to go and find some space or have the right ally in my corner to do this with, or write it out.
Yeah.
Right.
And Moira said, write it out or speak it out. Because once you do, and I just find when I speak it out, I can hear my words and I go, oh my God, that's so funny. Or wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You hear it differently. Writing it out 100%, but also speaking it aloud, you can go, oh, listen to where my voice broke on that third word. That's interesting. What's going on there?
Yeah.
Honor yourself. So with acknowledging it, honor yourself that you're going to do something with it and put it on a time frame and then do it. The other day I was a little bit emotional and I set the time frame and I went, at this time, it's going to stop. And literally, as I entered that town, that emotion just dispersed. I just trusted that it was going to go. So just honor yourself put a time frame on it. If this emotion is still sitting 24 hours later, there's 24 hours of chaos already gone on. Do you want to continue this for another month, a week, 3 days, any of this stuff? Like it's taking away your glitter.
Your glitter and your gratitude.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The other part around acknowledge, and it's actually a tip of its own, is to not fear it. Whatever emotions you're experiencing, and we've said this, that was Deb's last tip there about the gratitude, that whatever feeling is coming up, it's for your highest good. It's for your guidance. It's part of your GPS in this life, right? So don't fear the emotional discombobulation, because it's impermanent. And it's also, that's the other thing that I've liked to say, is that I believe that all emotions are demanding our respect. They want us to go, I feel that, I understand it, or I allow that to flow through me. And maybe at that point, you can get the guidance and the intel from it, right?
Is it? Oh, I was just trying to think. There's a movie out, Inside Out.
Oh, yes.
I only just watched
I
Inside
love
Out.
that movie.
I only just watched
love
the
that.
first one a week ago. It was really great. I encourage, even at my over 50 age, I thoroughly enjoyed Inside Out because it just showed that all emotions,
Mhm.
what about that? All emotions actually sync in with each other. They
Yeah.
all work together to give you something. So, when we're talking about don't fear it,
Don't fear it. Yeah.
actually all work together. And if you don't understand what I'm just saying in this condensed little wording here, is go watch the movie Inside Out. I didn't realize it was 2015. I literally just watched it the other day. So I will watch
That's
Inside Out.
funny. I highly recommend that movie too. I think it's excellent.
It's cool.
It's
It's explained in such a simple way, I
Mhm.
think, that all ages will get it.
Yes. It's beautifully done. It's kind of quirky and fun, but it's beautiful.
And you
It's that
feel it.
tasty.
You feel it as you feel the feelings as they're
Yes.
writing some of the stuff. You're like, oh. So we encourage you. There's another tip. We encourage you to go watch Inside Out.
Yeah, there you go.
The next one I had was stay present. Stay
Yes.
present in the moment. Stay present in the moment. And, when we talked about don't fear it, just stay present, because when you're present and when you're the eye in the storm, you can see things a lot clearer.
Yes. And I added acceptance into that too. That
Yes.
this is what's going on in this present moment. And
Yeah.
then leading on from that, I had talked about my ideas around self-soothing kit, because when you were telling about past stories and getting into our thinking space, sometimes the best thing you can do to allow your emotions to flow is to actually really, really soothe your nervous system. Soothing
Yeah.
your nervous system helps us become more resilient and much more available to understand that emotions can wash through us, and to maybe withstand. Maybe it's like a tidal wave, it's going to wash through. But when we make sure that we're attending to our nervous system, we can do it. You've got this, and you can actually come through with greater ease in that way. Right?
Yeah, totally. When you talked about the self-soothing, we talked about music and how
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
state. And Moira actually mentioned tactile,
Yeah.
and I quite like that too. So, any of those things, whatever works for you. I mean, I'm a firm believer on glitter bomb. Glitter bomb. Do what lights you up and feels right. Not pom-pom lights you up. It's just, or anything you want, but whatever feels right for you. But also know that tomorrow it might be different.
Mhm.
I listened to that music and then I listened to it again and went, oh no, that's
That's not for today. But that's the come back to just put your hand on your heart and take a deep breath. And then even that might be enough for you to then go, oh, you know what would feel really, really good in this moment? Maybe it would be a glitter bomb.
Cha-ching. That's- is it mine or yours? I don't know.
I'm not sure. You
Other
go.
people, other people's emotions are not yours to deal with.
Mhm.
Even as a coach, your emotions, when you come to us, are different. So other people's emotions are not yours to deal with, and it's just about that holding space for them sometimes,
Mhm.
seeing what comes out of for them.
Definitely. And so that's that piece around the worthy opponent. And that's when I also suggest using one of my favorite questions is, how do I feel about myself here?
Yeah.
With these feelings, with this person, talking to this person, or saying, no, I'm not going to talk to this person. How do I feel about myself?
Well, that's the 4 agreements again, isn't it? Don't take anything personally.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Oh, surprise, there's another one we put in our regular, the 4
That's right.
agreements.
It is too. It is too.
I've got, what is the outcome?
Yes.
What is the outcome you're looking to achieve?
Yes.
And keep it realistic.
Well, yeah, okay. But also remember, and that's when we were talking about changing your state, and really, my favorite and is the I'll stand and I'll put my hands on my hips and say I'm the boss of me. So nobody can make you feel something emotionally wise unless you say so. So even if somebody was screaming at the top of their lungs, accusing you of this, that, and the next thing, you cannot feel attacked unless you say so. So sometimes, and if you've listened to me talking before about my snow globe idea, sometimes that's what you got to do is you imagine yourself inside your own invincible, impenetrable protection bubble. I like to think of it as a snow globe. And of course, inside my snow globe is always purple glitter.
It's like, purple, purple.
Yes. That's all
And
the tips I had written down, other than
then the last one.
gratitude was the
Yeah,
last one. Yeah.
The last one was the gratitude. Just be thankful for what you have, be thankful for what you don't have. Be thankful for what others have, be thankful for what they don't have, and just be grateful that this is showing you something. And there's all, because I celebrate when something comes up, I celebrate and go, yay, I've got something to work on. Now I don't just, sometimes I just go, something to work on. Feel my energy, but I do flip it around to go, yay, I've got something to work on. I don't want to stay stagnant in this world.
Yeah.
So gratitude, 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 because there is gifts in every situation when
There's
we choose.
always, absolutely, always, 100% of the time.
Yeah. So, whoo, that's wrapping up. Are your
Mhm.
emotions holding you back? What a podcast. We trust that you got some incredible insights into this, incredible insights into seeing what emotions you have, how they come up, where they come from, what's going on. Remembering our PEMS. We had our PEMS, which we're going to check in now also. Just know that your emotions are just a label. It's just a word. And just like our PEMS is just a number. So if you were a 10 or a 9 and you felt bad that Moira and I were a 2, I was going to say too bad, then that's okay. That's your number and that's okay. And I can assure you, Moira and I have been beyond the 10.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
fact,
Multiple
Friday,
times.
I was beyond the 10, beyond the, as I tried to contain it in my bubble. So just be aware that it is just a label, just a number. So in
It's a
checking,
tool of assessment. That's how it's best to think of it, right? It's a tool of assessment. Yeah.
and there's no right or wrong in it. So in saying that, Moira and I were both 2. Everybody on the call here, I suspect you did. I trust that you did write your number down at the start. And then at halfway point, you had to check into where you are. Let us know where you are now. We'd love to know what's that evolved and changed to. And Moira, let's take a guess. Moira, what number are you?
I'm a 0.
Yeah, I'm a 0 too. I'm a 0. And interesting, on my notes, I've circled write it out, speak it out. So
Okay.
there's something, yep. And the next one I circled was gratitude out of all my
Cool.
notes today. So I was like, oh, wonder what that means. Oh, I'm gonna unpack that on my drive today.
Yes.
But thank you, listeners, for appreciating hanging out to the end for our deliciously motivated mindset conversation. If you like today, there's another step from this. If you like today, we would love you to reach out and book a time with us. Reach out and book a time with us to let us show you a deeper level of how to appreciate your emotions that are holding you back. We will put our link in the comments. Let us know how you go and let us know what your number is. That would be super inspiring as well.
We would love that. Yes, definitely.
So thank you, listeners, for today. Thank you, Internet.
Yes.
The touch and go at the start there.
At the beginning.
Yep, we pulled out the gratitude for that one.
Definitely.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Moira, for the title and the conversations. And you'll hear us on the next podcast. Thank you, listeners.
Thanks, listeners. Thanks, Debz. See you next time. Bye.